9 News at 10 starts right now.
New details tonight on the alleged illegal gambling ring linked to Denver basketball legend Chauncey Billups.
This is not your typical gambling scandal. There's just so much here to unpack.
A gambling expert explains how sophisticated technology could make cheating possible. President Trump is ending trade talks with Canada, a blow to businesses in Colorado, including a brewery already struggling with Trump's tariffs. The feds block Colorado's plan to import wolves because they weren't born in the USA.
What's most important is just making sure that CPW fulfills the goal that it was given from the voters.
But first, Colorado's court system braces for disruptions as the government shutdown continues. Jury trials, paychecks, even the right to an attorney are all on the line. The second longest government shutdown is in its 24th day with no deal in sight. The Senate's now gone home for the weekend and won't return until Monday afternoon. Today, many federal workers are missing their first full paycheck. Nearly 1.5 million civilian federal workers were either furloughed or forced to work without pay, and that includes more than 50,000 here in Colorado. Welcome in, Kyle Clark. In Colorado, hundreds of court employees, judges, and attorneys are among those still doing their jobs without pay. 9 News reporter Ria Jha is at the courthouse for us tonight. And Ria, it's not like these folks really have a choice.
They don't have a choice. Yeah, they don't really have the option to shut down the nation's judicial system. Right now they are limited, though. That means no spending, no hiring, no public events, and things like naturalization ceremonies and courthouse visits are all on hold. But the cases still have to move forward because they have to.
The country demands it, the system demands it.
Justice doesn't take a day off.
We just don't have that option.
As the clerk of the U.S. District Court of Colorado, Jeff Caldwell knows that, but he's never actually had to think about it before.
I've been doing this job for 13 years now, and we've never entered this phase of a shutdown where we're not getting paid.
It's phase 2 of the government shutdown. Colorado's federal courts are now limited in operations, running on unpaid labor from judges, clerks, defenders, and more.
So all of our cases are moving forward, both criminal and civil.
Jeff says it's roughly 300 of his employees that are affected. 20% of them are furloughed on rotation each day.
So they're worried about their rent, they're worried about their mortgage. I am concerned about if this goes on indefinitely, whether we'll begin losing staff who just simply can't afford to continue to stay with us.
The impact goes beyond the courthouse walls.
There's a devastating impact in our entire federal criminal justice system, but I can say that the panel attorneys are in a very particularly trying situation.
Kristen Frost is one of those panel attorneys.
There are about 110 of us in the District of Colorado.
It's a group of private attorneys funded by the government who take cases when the federal public defender's office can't, representing people who can't afford a lawyer.
Since July 1st, we have not been paid. Basically, the fund that pays us ran out of money. There was hope that that would change on October 1st. Just because there's a shutdown doesn't mean that, filing of new cases has stopped or that arrests have stopped. They have not.
Workers are now showing up out of a commitment to justice. But it's justice that could suffer if this goes longer.
It could be devastating.
It can't be at stake, right? It can't be at stake. We're going to keep working.
Attorneys told me that the general public shouldn't have felt any sort of impact just yet, but they're hoping that lawmakers in Washington do something about the shutdown soon before the public does start to feel some sort of impact. Reporting live in Denver, Ria Jha, 9 News.
Denver started the day with clouds before clearing out for a beautiful and crisp fall day. Warmer weather is expected to start the weekend before another storm system moves in. So plenty for meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen to be keeping track of tonight. Corey?
Plenty for sure, but those clear skies still there tonight. As you can see, the stars above the city of Denver, temperatures in the 40s right now, but those clear skies are going to set the stage for what I might call a sunstorm tomorrow. Look at the forecast for Denver, nothing but sunshine. We could see about 10 hours or more of sunshine tomorrow, temperatures up there in the low 70s. I think that's going to amount to about 2 to 3 feet of sunshine. Yeah, you didn't know you could measure a sunstorm, but That is why we have the C-Rep Sunshine Scale. A full day of sunshine would be 3 feet. I think we could get there. 7 to 9 hours of sun could be 2. So 2 to 3 feet. Looking at a lot of sunshine tomorrow. Temperatures in the 70s. A little bit cooler out here on the eastern plains as they have some morning cloud cover to deal with. 50s and 60s in the mountains with also a lot of sunshine in the mountains. Here's the next 3 days in Denver. Sunshine and warm temperatures through the weekend. Just amazing weekend here across the Front Range. Next storm system moves in here Sunday night into Monday. So I do have some explaining to do with that actual storm system that we've got coming in then.
Corey, thank you. President Trump's not taken too kindly to a Canadian television ad that uses the words of President Ronald Reagan to push back against American tariffs. Trump is apparently so offended that Reagan's anti-tariff stance is being used to call him out. The president is now ending trade talks with Canada. 9 News reporter Shalima Maharaj is along now after talking with a business owner here, struggling first with Trump's tariffs and now this.
That's exactly it. 9 News, we ended up catching up with Diebold Brewing Company back in March, and breweries were bracing for higher costs, and a lot of that stemmed from the price of aluminum.
This last delivery I have of aluminum cans, it turns out they're up 20%.
Aluminum from Canada.
I think the craft beer industry for sure is under a lot of pressure.
Between inflation, tariffs, and other costs of running a small business, it all adds up.
With cans, it's about a 3 or 4 month supply.
And takes away from the bottom line.
Honestly, if you run a business, you should have a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
But these days, Dan Diebold, co-owner of Diebold Brewing Company, says it's not just craft beer feeling the pinch. It's craft everything, and crafting a long-term plan for the future.
Whether it's beer, wine, coffee, whatever, a lot of where your revenue comes from is discretionary income.
And that has a lot to do with the health of the economy.
Canadian trade is very important for us. Our prices in general do depend upon the Canadian inputs coming to U.S.
MSU Denver economics professor Kishore Kulkarni says he's optimistic Canada and the U.S. can get past this.
History shows that they are our best friend, politically, economically, socially, and in almost all other respects.
Dan Diebold says what he and other business owners need most is stability.
When a small business can't make a long-term commitment because basically what they're seeing is the juice is just not worth the squeeze.
Now, Dan runs the brewery with his son, and it is a labor of love for them. He says while it's hard to map out the future, they're determined to keep growing their business and work with their suppliers to keep moving forward. Shalima Maharaj, 9 News.
Colorado's efforts to bring more wolves into the state is on pause after the federal government told Colorado Parks and Wildlife it cannot import wolves from Canada. CPW was hoping to acquire more wolves this winter to build out the wolf population here. And to do that, the agency signed an agreement with British Columbia, agreeing to spend up to $400,000 for up to 15 wolves. But this week, CPW got a cease and desist letter from U.S. Fish and Wildlife saying the state cannot import wolves from Canada. Some ranchers celebrated that, believing that this was going to stop the additions to the wolf population. But Democratic State Senator Dylan Roberts from the Western Slope sees it differently. He thinks the state's just going to find another source of wolves if it needs to, and that those wolves would be more likely to have a bad history with livestock.
We should be careful about what we're advocating for, and we should work to have a little more nuance in this discussion and try to get this letter changed or rescinded.
Spokesperson for the governor's office says they're evaluating this letter from the feds, and CPW declined to talk about it. Colorado's ranchers have beef with the Trump administration over its decision to import more meat from Argentina. It's an attempt to prop up Trump's ally, who leads Argentina, and lower the price of beef in the U.S. Just the announcement alone disrupted markets and drew sharp criticism from ranchers and the ag community. They say it would undermine domestic livestock producers who are preparing to sell cattle this fall. Beef is Colorado's biggest ag product and top export in any economic sector. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association called Trump's import plan misguided.
Well, obviously, it's disheartening for ranchers across the country and in Colorado to hear the president talk about solving the problem of high demand for beef and high prices for beef at the grocery store, mainly because This is the end result of years and decades of work by the U.S. cattle industry to build that quality and build that demand for our product.
The U.S. already imports beef from countries like Argentina for use in processed meat products like hamburger. Industry representatives warn that if Trump's plan drives down beef prices, ranching could become more unprofitable, and potentially that could devastate Colorado's cattle industry. As the government shutdown nears the 1-month mark, the fight over health care is front and center in Washington. Democrats want to extend enhanced tax credits for people who use Affordable Care Act plans. Those are credits that expire at the end of the year. And in just about a week, Coloradans on ACA health plans are going to find out just how much more their coverage would cost. Roughly 28,000 Coloradans are currently on those plans. Open enrollment starts November 1st. With health tax credits set to expire and premiums skyrocketing, Coloradans dreading the day, and that includes one Coloradan diagnosed with long COVID.
It's going to be close to $1 million this year in healthcare expenses. And there's just absolutely no way I could do that without health insurance. And it feels like your legs are just cut out from under you. And when you look around and you just don't see any options.
If you have insurance from your job, you can still be impacted by the rising cost of those ACA plans because as more people go uninsured, hospitals face more unpaid bills, and that leads to higher medical costs and higher insurance premiums for everyone. A Denver-based tech company is among the nearly 40 donors chipping in for President Trump's new $300 million gilded ballroom at the White House. This week, the White House suddenly demolished the entire East Wing without any advance notice or government approval. And then Palantir Technologies, one of the companies funding the project, chipped in for the new ballroom, along with Meta, Apple, Amazon, and others. Palantir is Colorado's most valuable company. It's faced scrutiny in the past from congressional Democrats concerned about Palantir's surveillance work on behalf of the Trump administration. Democrats are worried that Palantir is creating a database of Americans' personal information. The White House has not said how much each company is kicking in for the ballroom. Palantir's ties to the Trump administration are deep. The company's received more than $100 million in federal contracts since Trump took office. A federal judge has now paused the deployment of National Guard troops into Portland, Oregon. This ruling puts a hold on a decision issued by a 3-judge panel earlier this week that could have allowed President Trump to deploy 200 troops into Portland against the city's wishes. A U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said it needs until 5 p.m. Tuesday to reconsider the order, and until then, the deployment won't happen. The Trump administration says that it is stepping up its efforts to curb drug trafficking into the U.S. The Defense Secretary has ordered the deployment of an aircraft carrier to the waters off Latin America. The Pentagon claims this is to dismantle criminal organizations, narco-terrorists. The U.S. is sending the Gerald R. Ford strike group to the region. It's currently docked near Croatia, so it would be days for it to be in position. This comes as the Trump administration carries out continued controversial strikes that some in Congress say are illegal, taking out boats and killing alleged drug traffickers. In total, U.S. strikes have killed at least 46 people.